leaving those blank. I've learned way more about this than I ever thought I would learn. 43% of the general election voter typically does not vote for judges.
Really?
So they do exactly what you did. They went in and they voted for U.S. Senator, governor, different statewide candidates and legislative races. And once they got done with the people they knew, they said, you know what, I don't know these people.
Right.
I'm not voting for them. And I think Iowans have a certain amount of conscientiousness about them where if I know Jen and Bob, I'll vote for or against Jen or Bob. But if I don't know them, I don't feel like I have the credibility to weigh in, so to speak.
Live and let live. You know, they're not hurting me. I'm just going to leave them there.
And so what a retention vote is, it's the voter's mechanism to say, should these judges stay in office or should they be voted off the bench? Now here's the deal. The legal class, the ruling class, will say we already have a mechanism called impeachment. That's for things that are like illegal, unethical, immoral, where the House could file impeachment proceedings against a sitting Supreme Court judge.
So like criminal activity.
Criminal activity.
All right.
But what the retention vote, it's given to the people to say, are the justices staying within their constitutional boundaries?
That's a key word right there. Their constitutional boundaries.
Are they working and performing in a diligent manner that we would expect as Iowans? So it's a retention vote. There's no parameters on a retention vote. You either get to vote yes or no on a judge. Since the Supreme Court on April 3, 2009 voted unanimously to give us same-sex marriage, they voted unanimously to make law from the bench. They voted unanimously to govern from the bench. They voted unanimously to amend the Constitution from the bench. We're just telling people when it gets to the Supreme Court section, which is right under all the other elected office holders' positions, when it gets to the Supreme Court section, we be unanimous and we vote no, no, no.
And that basically says we believe that you have overstepped your boundaries.
You've overstepped your bounds. We believe you should not be retained. And some people say, I mean, obviously there's some people that disagree with me, so they write hit pieces on me or they do interviews against me. And they say, well, Bob just wants to have a Supreme Court that agrees with Bob. And I say, no, I want to have a Supreme Court that agrees with the Constitution.
What a novel idea.
And that stays within the Constitution. So really, Jen, this has been a great civics lesson, not only for me, but for people all over the state of Iowa and across the country. I was just in Washington, D.C., and David Barton has called this the most important election in the country.
What's happening here in Iowa?
This retention vote, he calls the most important election in the country.
Why?
Because he says if we continue to let the courts have this much power, to take this kind of control, we'll get tyranny, not liberty. Your private property will be up for grabs. How you educate your children, free enterprise, Second Amendment, First, anything that we hold dear becomes up for grabs at the whim of a court. So
Seven people who were not elected by us.
7 unelected people who went outside of the jurisdiction and they did things that they're not allowed to do. So now we as a people need to hold them in check. Because I believe David Barton's right, I believe Newt Gingrich is right, and several other national leaders are right in saying, what good does it do us to elect a conservative governor or a conservative legislature and you pass a conservative agenda if a court is only going to come in and overturn it?
Right. Okay. Now, you brought up national figures, and I have to ask you, again, I seem to be professing naivety quite a bit today, which is fine. Everybody thinks I'm blonde anyway.
Now, when you're with Steve, you may not be the smartest person in the room, but when you're with me, you have a very good opportunity to be the smartest person in the room. So don't claim naivety too quick.
We'll flip a coin here in a minute, but we